The Bodhisattva, Aphrodite, and Dionysus archetypes in Solomon Tantra explained. Dear Goddess, in this writing is the integration of the concepts, archetypes of the Bodhisattva, God Dionysus, and Goddess Aphrodite into the practice of Solomon Tantra. As you may see symbolism of them when you enter my Tantra house. Here it's explained. By blending the Mahayana Buddhist Bodhisattva ideal, the ecstatic spirit of Dionysus, the sensual love of Aphrodite, and the integrative practices of Tantra, we create a coherent framework where desire becomes sacred, physical touch is a path to transcendence, and the union of body and spirit is realized. Each archetype or tradition contributes a unique facet. The Bodhisattva brings compassionate service, Dionysus brings liberating ecstasy, Aphrodite sanctifies love and desire, and Tantra provides practical methods for weaving the physical and spiritual. I'll share with you each in turn and then synthesize how they collectively support the core values of awakening desire as a spiritual force, achieving transcendence through sensual experience, uniting body with spirit, and healing through touch, presence, and love. Bodhisattva archetype, compassionate service and sacred presence. In Mahayana Buddhism, a bodhisattva is an enlightened being who delays their own final nirvana in order to help all other sentient beings attain liberation. The defining element of the bodhisattva ideal is an attitude of universal compassion combined with the drive for awakening on behalf of others. This altruistic archetype contributes an ethos of service, empathy, and presence to the sensual Tantra practice. The Bodhisattva sees assisting others not as mundane labor, but as a sacred duty. Every act, including touch, can be manifestation of compassion aimed at alleviating suffering. In a sensual Tantra session context, this translates to the practitioner approaching the session with a bodhisattva's heart, an attitude of genuine caring and karuna, compassion, that creates a safe, nurturing space for the client's healing and growth. Beyond compassion, the Bodhisattva archetype also offers wisdom in handling desire as a spiritual force. While traditional Buddhism often advises renunciation of sensual desire, Mahayana texts illustrate that an advanced bodhisattva can engage the senses without attachment, using skillful means, upaya. For example, the Skill in Means Sutra describes a bodhisattva abiding among a holy retinue of women and enjoying, playing with, and taking pleasure in it, purely to lead them toward the Dharma. Far from being a lapse in ethics, this is portrayed as a compassionate expedient. The bodhisattva remains inwardly free, while outwardly utilizing sensual experience to awaken others. It is said that if one sees a true bodhisattva indulging the five sensory pleasures without losing the thought of enlightenment, that bodhisattva is endowed with five faculties like those of the Buddha. This principle reassures us that sensual pleasure, when approached with selfless intention and mindfulness, can be compatible with spiritual awakening. The sensual Tantra practitioner in this view might permissibly arouse and channel a client's sensual energies, not for personal gratification, but as a means to help release the client's suffering, such as shame or blockage around sexuality, and guide them to a more awakened relationship with their body. Finally, the Bodhisattva exemplifies the union of body and spirit by living simultaneously in two worlds, the world of appearance and the world of reality, samsara and nirvana. Enlightened wisdom, realizing the empty, luminous nature of reality, and compassionate action in the physical world are united in the Bodhisattva's being. This non-duality is encapsulated in Mahayana teachings. Samsara is nirvana when experienced with enlightened insight. For our purposes, it means the divide between the spiritual and the sensual is artificial. With the right awareness, a physical act like Tantra massage can be simultaneously a spiritual act. The Bodhisattva's great compassion gives concrete expression to transcendent wisdom. In practice, wisdom might manifest in the healer's intuitive understanding of what the client needs, while compassion manifests through the healing touch and comforting presence. By embodying the Bodhisattva's archetype, the Tantra practitioner, Tantra god or goddess, or masseuse or masseur, treats each client as a being worthy of unconditional love and strives to relieve their pain, whether physical tension or emotional stress. This aligns with the sensual Tantra session's core aim of healing through touch, presence, and love. Essentially, the practitioner becomes a conduit for the Bodhisattva's healing energy, turning the massage session into a form of active loving kindness meditation. Such an atmosphere of benevolence can be profoundly transformative. It helps clients feel seen, safe, and supported, which is the foundation for deeper sexual emotional healing. Dionysus, ecstasy, freedom, and transcendence through sensuality. In Greek mythology, Dionysus represents the principle of festivity, unbridled nature, and ritual madness and ecstatic liberation from everyday identity. As an archetype, Dionysus brings the energy of joyous release and transcendence through sensual experience. His worship in ancient times, the Dionysian mysteries, involved wine, music, dance, and oftentimes uninhibited communal revelry. These rituals served a spiritual function, to shake off the shackles of social convention and the isolated ego, and to achieve a state of oneness with the group and the God. Dionysus's followers would enter a trance of ecstasis or ecstasy, a Greek term meaning to stand outside oneself. In this state, one's inhibitions or earthly restraints are significantly lowered, and participants attained a trance-like mystic self-transcendence. The Dionysian mode of liberation teaches our framework that sensual abandon can be enlightening and healing. By losing oneself in feeling, be it through touch, rhythm, or intoxication of sense, one may break free of mental prisons and experience an expansive reality beyond the small everyday self. For a sensual Tantra service, infusing a touch of Dionysian spirit means encouraging clients to let go of overthinking, shame, or control, and sink into the spontaneous bliss of the here and now bodily experience. The goal is a safe ritual madness, not actual insanity, but a temporary suspension of the rigid, rational mind in favor of primal presence and joy. Under the influence of Dionysus, desire and emotion are not enemies to spirituality, but gateways to it. As Jennifer Marsh describes, Dionysus is the god of ecstatic liberation from everyday identity, dissolving the boundaries that normally confine us. This dissolution results in a feeling of profound unity. Nietzsche noted that in Dionysian ecstasy, the subjective self is forgotten, and one merges into a magical experience of oneness, a true unity with nature. In practical terms, a client who allows themselves to moan, breathe deeply, and move freely during a tantric-style massage might enter a cathartic state where they feel at one with their body, with the Tantra god or Tantra goddess, or even with the cosmos, a gentle form of transcendence through sensual pleasure. It is important that Dionysian ecstasy is balanced by wisdom and safety, as uncontrolled indulgence can have a shadow side. But in a structured session, the freedom of the body that Dionysus endorses through rhythmic breathing, erotic energy, or perhaps music and aromatic stimuli can lead to a corresponding freedom of the mind. Ancient observers remarked that Dionysus's wine and revelry could free his followers from self-conscious fear and care and subvert oppressive restraints. In other words, properly channeled sensual ecstasy is profoundly therapeutic. It relieves stress, dissolves anxiety, and purges emotional pain. The Greeks even mythologized that Dionysus gave humanity wine as a medicine. Euripides writes that the god introduced wine to mortals so that which stops wretched men from suffering and provides oblivion of the evils of life. Nor is there any other cure against distress. In the sensual Tantra session setting, while no actual alcohol is involved, the intoxication comes from pleasure itself. The rush of endorphins and oxytocin generated by sensual touch can mimic Dionysus's gift, a natural euphoria that quiets inner turmoil and leaves one feeling possessed and empowered by a benevolent force. Thus, Dionysus contributes the element of playful, ecstatic liberation to our framework. He invites clients to treat the sensual massage as a sacred play, a time to dance with one's senses and emotions without judgment. The Tantra god or Tantra goddess invoking Dionysus might encourage expressive breathing or subtle movement, use rhythmic strokes or drumming music to facilitate the trance, and most importantly, create an ambiance where laughter, crying, or a blissful sound are all welcome releases. By embracing the Dionysian archetype, the service affirms that pleasure and passion can lead to divine states. A person may emerge from a session feeling reborn, light, joyous, and connected, much as Dionysus's initiates felt upon returning from the mountain revels. In summary, Dionysus embodies liberation through sensuality and teaches us that transcendence can be reached by going through the body, not only beyond it. It directly supports Solomon Tantra's value of liberation and transcendence through sensual experience. The sensual session becomes a modern ritual of release, freeing the client's life force and renewing their spirit. Aphrodite, sacred love, beauty, and the spirit of desire. In contrast to Dionysus's wildness, Aphrodite represents the gentle yet potent power of love, attraction, and pleasure. She is the archetypal goddess of erotic desire, beauty, and affection, associated with everything from passionate romance to the fertility of the natural world. Aphrodite integrates into Solomon Tantra, symbolizing to sanctify desire itself as divine. This archetype contributes a perspective that sensuality and love are not profane or merely indulgent, but are in fact bridges to the divine and pathways to healing. Aphrodite's influence in Solomon Tantra can be seen in several key ways. First is the awakening of desire as a spiritual force. In Greek myth, Aphrodite's very presence could spark irresistible desire. For instance, when she was born from the sea, it's said that flowers sprang up and all beings were enchanted by her beauty. Rather than viewing sexual desire as a sin or distraction, the Aphrodisian perspective views it as a life-giving energy. Ancient philosophers like Empedocles even identified love, personified by Aphrodite, as a fundamental cosmic force that unites and creates. In a modern context, this means recognizing that the client's sexual energy, their capacity for arousal and pleasure, is deeply connected to their vitality and creativity. To awaken one's sensual desire in a safe, loving setting is to tap into a wellspring of spiritual aliveness. Contemporary spiritual practitioners inspired by Aphrodite emphasize that pleasure and love are our birthright and carry healing power. Aphrodite offers magical, powerful, and practical keys for healing, reclaiming, and awakening our self-worth through the knowing that we are not separate from love. We are love animated as life. In the Sensual Tantra session, when a client experiences arousal or longing in a context of respect and care, those feelings are reframed as sacred. Their desire becomes a prayer, an energy to be honored, rather than shamefully repressed. Secondly, Aphrodite guides us in the principle of liberation and transcendence through sensual experience, specifically through the power of love and intimate connection. While Dionysus frees through frenzy, Aphrodite frees through surrender to love. In some ancient traditions, the act of physical love was ritually honored. For example, certain temples, like those of Aphrodite's Near Eastern counterpart, Ishtar Astarte, had priestesses who engaged in sacred sexuality rites, emphasizing that sexual union could invoke the gods. A modern echo of this is the idea in Neo-Tantra and sacred sexuality circles that one should live sex as if it were a prayer in pleasure, not rushed but savored, explored, and honored. By bringing mindfulness and reverence into erotic touch, the sensual massage becomes a form of worship at Aphrodite's altar. The intimacy and pleasure shared are seen as doorways to transcendent states of bliss and unity. Many couples and individuals report that through consciously practiced sensuality, they feel a dissolution of ego and a profound heart union with their partner or with existence. This is Aphrodite's transcendence, the melting of separation through love. It complements Dionysian ecstasy with a more tender form of ecstasy, the rapture of feeling deeply connected, cared for, and in love. Even if the sensual tantra session is a professional service, the practitioner channels unconditional agape love alongside any erotic energy, so the client feels enveloped by warmth, acceptance, and beauty. In such an embrace, emotional guard walls fall, and a person can experience catharsis and spiritual openness. The healing through touch, presence, and love that the Solomon Tantra practitioner promises is very much the realm of Aphrodite, for she teaches that love is the greatest healer. It makes all crops grow in the soul, as mercy and love were likened to gentle rain that nurtures life. Third, Aphrodite's archetype underscores the union of body and spirit by erasing any presumed divide between the two. One of Aphrodite's epithets is Aphrodite Urania, heavenly Aphrodite, which ancient writers like Plato associated with a more spiritual love, versus Aphrodite Pandemos, common Aphrodite, who governs physical attraction. In truth, these are two faces of the same goddess, and Solomon Tantra insists they be reunited. An Aphrodisian view holds that the physical is spiritual. The beauty of the human form, the sensations of pleasure and act of lovemaking, all these are expressions of divine joy. We are not separate from spirit because we are in a body. This body is the expression, the vessel, and the animation of spirit incarnate. Such an understanding directly supports a sensual tantra session that treats the client's body as a temple. The oils, the soothing strokes, the ambiance of candles or aromatherapy, these are offerings to the divine spark within the flesh. In Aphrodite's mirror, a person learns to see their own body not as something dirty or purely material, but as sacred art, unique, beautiful, and worthy of adoration. Indeed, in myth, Aphrodite is often accompanied by the Graces and by Pytho, goddess of gentle persuasion, indicating that grace, charm, and softness are part of the sacred erotic experience. The Tantra god or Tantra goddess embodying Aphrodite will therefore emphasize gentleness, aesthetic beauty, and loving presence in the session. Every touch is delivered with love. The room is decorated with delight the senses, perhaps rose petals or pleasant fabrics. The pacing is unhurried and attentive. All of this allows the client's heart to open. They may reconnect with their capacity to feel love for themselves, self-love and acceptance of their body, and for others, which can have profound emotional and spiritual ripple effects. Historically, Aphrodite was also associated with healing and renewal in subtle ways. The waters of Cyprus where she emerged were reputed to have therapeutic properties, and love itself has been called the greatest therapy. In our context, Aphrodite's contribution is the assurance that sensual pleasure, intimacy, and beauty can heal wounds that logic and analysis cannot reach. A person suffering from body shame, sexual trauma, or loneliness might find more restoration in one session of compassionate, pleasure-positive touch than in many therapeutic setting talks, because it directly addresses the heart and the body. By invoking Aphrodite, the service emphasizes nurturance, pleasure, and emotional warmth as core aspects of healing. As one modern devotee wrote in an ode to the goddess, "Simply gaze upon her loving, gentle face, and one feels instant love, warmth, and peace. It's a proven method for relaxation and stress reduction." In practice, while the Tantra god or goddess is not literally a deity, when they hold a loving gaze, smile warmly, and genuinely honor the client's physical being, the client receives a dose of Aphrodisian grace, a reassurance that they are attractive, worthy, and loved. This can awaken their own ananda, bliss, and prema, love, from within, leading to holistic well-being. In summary, Aphrodite imbues the framework with a celebration of erotic love as holy, the pursuit of beauty and pleasure as a spiritual path, and the healing balm of unconditional love and acceptance. She reminds us that to love and To be in touch, literally and figuratively, is to know the divine. For God is love in many traditions, a truth perfectly exemplified by the goddess of love herself. Tantra, weaving body and spirit in sacred sexuality. Tantra is the thread that consciously weaves together all the archetypal insights above into a practical spiritual system. Originating in India in both Hindu and Buddhist contexts, Tantra, from the Sanskrit root tan, to weave or extend, is not one monolithic doctrine, but a collection of teachings and practices that affirm the divinity of the embodied world and provide methods to transform every aspect of life, including sexuality, into a path of enlightenment. In the Tantric worldview, the body and its energies are a microcosm of the universe, and thus engaging fully with the body can lead to realization of the ultimate. The principles of Tantra align perfectly with the core values of a sensual Tantra session focused on awakening, liberation, unity, and healing, making Tantra the integrating framework for our services philosophy. At its heart, Tantra teaches non-duality. All of this is one. The apparent opposites, male and female, body and spirit, desire and wisdom, are in truth complementary facets of the one reality. This is illustrated in the Ardhanarishvara image, half Lord, half goddess, and in the concept of Shiva Shakti, Shiva representing pure consciousness and Shakti representing energy or manifestation. Their eternal embrace in Tantric iconography is a reminder that spirit, or Shiva, and matter, energy, or Shakti, are inseparable. The implication for a sensual massage practice is profound. Sexual energy, a form of Shakti, is nothing other than consciousness in motion. It can be transmuted into spiritual realization if honored and guided. Rather than rejecting mundane sensual pleasure, Tantra finds the supra-mundane within the mundane. A tantric-oriented masseuse sees erotic arousal in the client as divine energy or kundalini, awakening, not as something dirty or merely physical. With breathing techniques, visualization, and intention, that erotic energy can be encouraged to flow upward through the chakras, potentially inducing elevated states of awareness, heart opening, and even visions or meditative stillness. In classical Tantra, advanced practitioners could achieve the state of samadhi, oneness with the divine, in the midst of lovemaking, an idea that scandalized more ascetic schools but exemplifies Tantra's motto, Yataiva smasane tataiva mandale. What is here in the body and in the world is also found in the highest spiritual realm. Desire as a spiritual force is explicitly embraced in Tantra. One tantric text flatly states, desire can be used to attain the truth. While unbridled craving is still seen as potentially harmful, the tantric solution is not repression, but transmutation, harnessing the raw power of desire and redirecting it to fuel spiritual growth. The Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, for example, gives meditation techniques to practice at the point of orgasm or intense arousal, using that peak as a doorway to the infinite. In modern terms, this means our sensual tantra sessions does not shy away from sexual arousal. Instead, it welcomes it in a conscious container. The tantra god or tantra goddess might guide the client in breathing deeply when sexual energy arises, circulating it through the body rather than dissipating it quickly. Indeed, Tantra teaches methods of orgasmic control such that men, for instance, might separate orgasm from ejaculation to prolong the experience and achieve a full body or cosmic orgasm that transcends the purely physical sensation. By prolonging and expanding pleasure, one takes the orgasm to a higher state and lengthens it so that both partners attain what is known as a cosmic orgasm. While not everyone will reach a cosmic orgasm in a given session, this perspective ensures that pleasure is used meditatively, not rushed. The journey becomes as valued as the destination, and each wave of pleasure is ridden with mindful awareness. In doing so, the client can experience glimpses of the no-mind state or unity consciousness in the very midst of sensual delight, a clear instance of liberation through sensual experience as promised. Perhaps the most salient contribution of Tantra to our framework is its detailed methodology of or for uniting body and spirit. Tantra provides practical tools, breathwork or pranayama, visualization of energy centers or chakras, mantra chanting, conscious touch, and ritual. A truly tantric sensual massage incorporates these elements. For example, the session might begin with a short meditation or prayer to set intention, honoring the three jewels of body, mind, and spirit. The practitioner works with awareness of chakras, perhaps placing a hand on the heart or third eye at times to help the client focus energy there. Deep breathing and sounding are encouraged to move energy, as energy follows breath and sound in tantric theory. All of this aligns with how authentic Tantra massage is described, an energetically based form of bodywork that integrates the principles of Tantra, focusing on balancing energy, releasing emotional blockages, and awakening sensual and spiritual awareness. The Tantra god or Tantra goddess may even employ a specific sequences designed to activate the Kundalini, often visualized as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine and guided upward. By treating the genitals as a sacred center, yoni and lingam in tantric terms, often meaning sacred space and wand of light, respectively. The massage also removes stigma and imbues the erotic with reverence. In essence, Tantra ensures that every aspect of the massage, from the setting to the techniques, is infused with spiritual intent so that the physical and spiritual experiences unfold simultaneously and harmoniously. Another vital aspect of Tantra brings is the notion of healing through the integration of love and energy. In Tantric Buddhism, compassion, the Bodhisattva element, is actually cultivated in union with wisdom, emptiness, insight. In sexual yoga, symbolized by male and female deities united in blissful embrace. Similarly, by integrating bodhisattva-like compassion or love with Dionysian Aphrodisian ecstasy, energy and pleasure follows a tantric paradigm. Many individuals carry blockages, emotional, sexual, energetic traumas stored in their bodies, sometimes in the pelvic region or heart center. Tantric bodywork explicitly aims to dissolve these blockages. As a modern tantric school notes, Tantra massage clears out anything and everything that doesn't belong and isn't truly you. It provides a total overhaul of your mind, body, and spirit and leaves you feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, happy, optimistic, and spiritually inspired. The activation of sexual energy can flush out stagnant emotions. Some clients might cry or laugh spontaneously as tension releases, and the nurturing, accepting presence of the practitioner helps heal psychological wounds of shame or unworthiness. Scientific studies have started to acknowledge these benefits, showing that working with breath and energy can shift a person into parasympathetic or relaxed state where deep healing occurs. Stress hormones drop and the body's natural healing mechanisms activate. Moreover, clients often report after tantric sessions a greater sense of self-love and empowerment regarding their sexuality. This is the outcome of honoring the body as a temple. As one tantric saying goes, in this very body, the Buddha enlightenment can be found. Our service, guided by Tantra, treats the person's body as sacred ground. Every touch is mindful and devotional. The result is not only physical relaxation, but a healing of the mind and heart. The person may leave with a radiant glow, feeling, I have met the divine within myself. In summary, Tantra is a unifying tapestry that ties together compassion, ecstasy, love, and sacred technique. It confirms for us that sexual awakening can be a path to spiritual awakening, that the body is spirit in form, and that through skilled practice, one can achieve liberation and healing by means of bliss. By incorporating tantric theory and methods, the sensual massage service stands upon a well-established spiritual tradition that legitimizes its goals and expands its potential. It becomes not just a massage, but a tantric ritual, a journey toward wholeness in which practitioner, god, goddess, and client alike may taste the nectar of the gods within the temple of the human body. Synthesis, a holistic framework for sensual awakening and healing. Drawing on the four archetypal streams above, we can now synthesize a coherent philosophy for our sensual Tantra sessions. At its core, this framework holds that sensual experience can be sacred and transformative when approached with the right intention and understanding. The Bodhisattva, Dionysus, Aphrodite, and Tantra each contribute essential values and perspectives that in combination fulfill the session's intention of sexual awakening, physiological relaxation, rejuvenation, and emotional, spiritual well-being. To highlight their convergence, we examine how each theme identified by Solomon Tantra is supported by these archetypes. Awakening of desire as a spiritual force. All four influences elevate desire from a merely carnal impulse to a form of divine energy. Aphrodite explicitly sanctifies sexual desire, framing it as an expression of love and a catalyst for creativity and joy, rather than something to suppress. Dionysus encourages the uninhibited flow of desire as a route to losing oneself in a positive way and accessing primal truth. His rites show that indulging passion can lead to union with the divine. Tantra provides the methodology to channel desire into enlightenment. Instead of extinguishing the fire of longing, Tantra teaches one to let the fire illuminate the whole being. For example, awakening Kundalini. Even the Bodhisattva archetype, traditionally wary of attachment, demonstrates through skillful means that desire can be used compassionately to lead beings to truth, and that an enlightened being can engage desire without bondage. Thus, the sensual Tantra session encourages clients to embrace their desires without guilt, viewing their arousal and yearning as natural, powerful forces that can fuel personal growth and spiritual insight. In practice, this means creating a judgment-free environment where sexual energy is welcomed and guided, not seen as an issue. It also means helping clients become more self-aware of their desires and how that energy feels in their body, perhaps awakening dormant aspects of their sexuality in a positive, conscious way. Liberation and transcendence through a sensual experience. The idea that one can attain liberating transcendence through sensual pleasure runs counter to some ascetic spiritual teachings, but it is firmly supported by our archetypal quartet. Dionysus embodies this principle most viscerally. Under his influence, dance, music, and sexual celebration become vehicles for stepping outside ordinary selfhood and experiencing ecstatic unity. Aphrodite's path to transcendence is through love and bliss. One transcends by going deeper in, by surrendering to pleasure so profound that it quiets the mind and opens the heart. Think of the afterglow of lovemaking, where one often feels at peace with the world, or in a state of gratitude and connectedness. Tantra explicitly maps out stages of consciousness one can reach through prolonged states of arousal and orgasm. sometimes describing these as glimpses of enlightenment or samadhi. It recognizes sexual ecstasy, ananda, as akin to spiritual ecstasy. In the West, this understanding has led to the phrase, sex is meditation. The Bodhisattva archetype adds the nuance that transcendence attained should be used for the benefit of all. In a session, as the person transcends their old hurts or limiting self-image, they are in a better position to be a happier, kinder member of society, thus extending the spiritual value beyond themselves. In the massage context, the confluence of these ideas means the session is designed not only for physical relief, but for the client's psychological liberation. Through breathing, touch, and emotional release, they might transcend past traumas, transcend stress and mental chatter, and even momentarily transcend the illusion of separateness, feeling deeply connected to the Tantra god or Tantra goddess or the universe. Many clients describe well-conducted tantric massage sessions as out-of-body or divine experiences, language traditionally reserved for spiritual practice. Our framework legitimizes and intentionally aims for those outcomes, understanding that a state of sensual transcendence can be as profound as the state achieved by sitting on a meditation cushion, if not more accessible to some. Union of body and spirit. Perhaps the strongest common thread among all our archetypes is the insistence that the divide between body and spirit is either bridgeable or illusory. The Bodhisattva lives in both nirvana and the world simultaneously. Dionysian rites collapse the boundary between mortal and God, physical and spiritual, by means of ecstasy. Aphrodite unites heaven and earth, as in her birth myth and in the way love joins souls through bodies. And Tantra is built entirely on the premise that the body is a temple of spirit. Therefore, the Sensual Tantra session's foundational philosophy is that attending to the body with awareness and love is a direct way of nurturing the soul. The massage table becomes an altar where flesh and spirit meet. Concrete expression of this union includes treating all aspects of the client, mind, body, heart, energy, as one interconnected whole. Using modalities like voice during massage to engage the client's spirit while the body relaxes, perhaps incorporating spiritual symbols like yantras or images in the room to subtly remind the psyche of the sacred atmosphere. The Ardhanarishvara Shiva Shakti image used in the Tantra section is a perfect emblem. It shows that duality, male-female, active-passive, giver-receiver, merges into oneness. In the session, this might also be reflected in how the goddess sometimes leads and sometimes follows the client's energy, a dance of Shiva and Shakti, or how both the goddess and client maintain a mindful presence, so the giver and receiver both become deeply aware, almost meditative, blurring the line between where healing originates and where it is received. Ultimately, by the session's end, The aim is for the client to feel whole, integrated in themselves, and reintegrated with the world. Instead of feeling, I have a body separate from me, one might feel embodiment, a unified state of I am this body, mind, and spirit all together. This holistic self-acceptance is a spiritual realization in its own right, and it is a fruit of honoring the union of body-spirit throughout the massage process. Healing through touch, presence, and love. Each archetype contributes to the healing dimension of the practice in a complementary way. The Bodhisattva's compassion ensures the touch given is not mechanical, but deeply caring and intuitive, guided by the intention to alleviate suffering and bring joy. The therapist invoking the Bodhisattva remains fully present with the client, listening to their body's cues, empathetically feeling what they feel. This presence itself is healing. Many people rarely receive full presence from others in daily life. Aphrodite's love adds a warm, emotional resonance to the touch. It's not only technical skill, but also an affectionate caress, a honoring of the client's inherent beauty and value. Love also means the therapist holds a non-judgmental space, seeing the client as a beloved friend or even as an aspect of the divine, which can heal wounds of shame and unworthiness in the client. Dionysus contributes the healing of release. His energy in the session might be seen when a client suddenly laughs or cries, or their body shakes as it lets go of stored tension, akin to a wild dance shaking off chains. By encouraging authentic expression, Dionysian influence helps purge toxicity. Emotional catharsis is often called a release, and indeed, after crying in session, clients frequently report feeling lighter and more free. Finally, Tantra provides the structural knowledge of how to heal through touch, mapping pressure points, energy lines, teaching how sexual energy can dissolve blockages, etc. Tantric practices like specific yoni or lingam massage techniques can help release trauma or emotions stuck in the pelvic area, as some sexological body workers have documented. Breathwork used in Tantra oxygenates the body and activates the vagus nerve, putting the client in a parasympathetic or healing state. By combining these elements, the sensual Tantra session becomes truly therapeutic on multiple levels. Physically, it relaxes the muscles and improves circulation, rejuvenating the body. Emotionally, it provides comfort and joy, rejuvenating the heart. Mentally, it induces meditative states, restoring the mind, and spiritually, it offers a sense of connection and sacredness, nourishing the soul. We can see the outcome as a state of holistic wellness. This approach mirrors what some contemporary holistic health practitioners describe as sacred sexuality as medicine, where mindful erotic touch is used to heal sexual dysfunctions, anxiety, trauma, and relationship to self. Our integration of archetypes validates this modern practice by rooting it in age-old wisdom and divine archetypes. In conclusion, the convergence of Bodhisattva, Dionysus, Aphrodite and Tantra within our sensual Tantra sessions create a rich tapestry of meaning and purpose. It asserts that pleasure and compassion are not opposites but partners in healing, that ecstasy and mindfulness can coexist, and that by embracing the full spectrum of human experience, from primal sensuality to enlightened awareness, we can guide individuals into states of profound well-being and spiritual realization. This framework transforms the session from a mere indulgence into a ritual of transformation. Clients are invited to step into sacred space where they can shed their burdens, awaken their senses and spirit, and emerge not only relaxed and rejuvenated, but also illuminated, touched by something greater, whether one calls it divine, the life force, or simply the fullness of their own being. In a world we're often fragmented by stress and disconnection, this integrated approach offers a path to wholeness. It echoes the Bodhisattva's vow, "May all beings be freed of suffering and experience bliss." Sings with Dionysian joy, "Be free, be joyous, be one with life." Resonates with Aphrodite's message, "You are beautiful and loved." And applies the tantric truth, all is one, body, desire, love, spirit, woven in the present moment. Thus, the service stands as a contemporary temple of holistic healing, where ancient wisdom and modern needs meet, a place where one can experience the ecstasy of the senses as a gateway to the soul and depart more whole than when one arrived. I'm Jack Solomon. Thank you for listening.